And you can actually keep them overnight for a couple of days. We go down the, and I dunk it in the
now it
water in
comes
the
on.
morning for them. So, first item, public. Anybody got any comments on the agenda items? Anybody want to introduce yourself?
I got a few people I'd like to introduce.
Okay.
We've hired some new beach ambassadors.
Great.
So Cheryl Corson is one of our new beach ambassadors, and Kaylee Goodman is one of our new beach ambassadors. So today's their second day. They're in the training mode, and we'll be out on the beach in about 2 weeks, taking care of working with our other beach ambassadors, getting help to beach code enforcement. Let people know what the codes are, beach etiquette. Of course, they also operate as kind of information people for our destination. And so, if you get a chance, introduce yourself after the meeting.
Great. Welcome. Okay. Next item is approval of last meeting's minutes. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion. About a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We've got a financial report.
Yeah, scratch that.
No financial report
It's very
today,
easy.
huh?
Since we're a non-funded volunteer organization, our assets are zero and our liabilities are zero.
Excellent.
Okay, how about new business? Anybody have any new business? Matt gonna give any presentation or anything?
He is.
Is that under old business?
Yeah, under old business. One thing
Well, I had a couple of things. I don't know if we ought to wait till council comments. Let's,
We can do that. I mean, if it's stuff you want the committee to review or consider.
I don't think it's anything we need to,
Okay, we can just
vote
do
on or
comments.
anything.
One thing I'd like to add in our new business is 2 weeks out, we send out the agenda, or we send out a request or notice a meeting and a request for any new business items. So that'd be the time to introduce new business items so they can get on the agenda, any backup material can get, and then other council members will have time to review it prior to it. Doesn't mean you can't bring up new business at the meeting, but I'd highly encourage you to not make any decisions or recommendations for approval based on item that was introduced the day
At the
of
meeting.
You also can, but once again, you need to give everybody appropriate time to review, do their research and all that. And also, if there is something that a member of the public would like to talk on, they would also have advance notice of. See what I'm saying? Okay.
okay, next item is old business.
All right. Matt will give us a short update on what we're doing with the beach matter.
Yeah, nothing major from our last meeting. We're going to be going out with Brian's group here in the near future, documenting the existing beach conditions, taking a bunch of photos, doing a drive-through. We're still working with the TDC on marching forward the countywide beach restoration permit for the emergency use only, or to be enacted as needed, I suppose. And aside from that, just a little coordination with the Corps of Engineers here and there, discussing the old project. Nothing's moving forward, just how can we be best prepared should we need them in an emergency situation. So all's relatively quiet on our end, which is a good thing for now, and just trying to remain prepared. Y'all have any questions for me? All right.
I'd like to give a little bit of information on some codes that have changed recently or will be changing coming up pretty soon. First one is customary use. I'm sure everybody's aware of the state legislation act that was voted on and then signed by Governor Scott, which is House Bill 631, and it was basically preempted any local government customary use codes. It did have a provision in there that allowed us, since we had enacted our code before a certain date, to present our case to a court of law and have that court decide if our code has standing or validity and still remain in place. At that time, anybody affected by it has the opportunity to petition the court as well. for consideration. So Walton County is looking at their opportunities or what they can do, and we'll know here in the near future what their intention is as far as petitioning the court and what will happen with customary use. As it stands now, the customary use code will be preempted on July 1st, and we expect to have a lot of issues with that from both sides. The customary use code actually gave a lot of protection to Gulfront property owners. That protection will no longer be provided by beach code enforcement. There'll be a similar form of protection provided by a sheriff's office based on trespassing laws. And then the second one was back in 2016, we passed a section of the code, or adopted section 2255, which was obstructions on the beach, commonly referred to as the post ropes, signs, and fences code. That was challenged in court on First Amendment grounds. The plaintiff was successful. We had to rescind that section of the code, which meant that we could no longer enforce post ropes, fences, and signs on the beach. However, since customary use had been adopted, the Gulfront property owners that owned the mean high water line did not immediately start putting out post rope signs and fences. Since the Florida legislator made the decision, passed the law preempting customary use, those post rope signs and fences have now started appearing on the beach. So I don't know how often you get out on the beach, but they're out there now, and there are more coming up. Other people that aren't property owners are also posting signs for various things. And so on May 8th, we have a public hearing to adopt a new revised Section 2255. So I encourage you to go to you can download the draft copy from the BCC agenda page. So it's Walton County Online, agendas in meetings tab, and then you can look down there for that May 8th meeting, and it'll have the attachments that'll be considered that day. Basically what it is that the court said that we couldn't do a blanket prohibition on post rope signs and fences, but we could regulate location, time of day, size, composition, and that. So that's basically what it does. But I encourage you to read the whole attachment, because there's also some other changes to other sections of the code. So whenever we do a public hearing for code revision, sometimes we do a little cleanup in other sections. So there's some text changes and definitions. There's some additions in other areas that are cleaning up previous text in the code. Some of it's just adding numbers, where we just had either a numeric designation or a written designation. We now have both, like, 1 and then parentheses 1. And so, but anyway, read through it all, make sure you understand it, or if you have any questions, you can contact me. And then May 8th, BCC regular meeting in this room at 4 p.m. And there'll be that under the legal tab. Beach code and beach maintenance departments are geared up and ready for the summer season, which we will start mid-May, third week in May. We're already seeing some people come in, not many, but most of the schools let out, the end of May. Families will be here. It'll be, we expect a lot of people here this year. We have some new staff members with beach maintenance. Beach code enforcement levels stay the same. We had a few people leave us. We're hiring new people. They'll be, that ad closes on Friday. We'll have interviews in the week following, and then we'll get those people on board. It takes about 4 weeks to get them trained to where we let them off by themselves, but in 2 weeks they'll be out there with other code enforcement officers helping keep harmony on the beach. Like we introduced 2 new beach ambassadors. We got big plans with the Beach Ambassador Program. You'll see us set up at Regional Beach Accesses in a static format with some single point messaging. Some of it will be code, some of it will be beach etiquette. Some of it will be environmental, and we'll partner with other groups that work with us on the beach, South Walton Turtle Watch, our Volunteer Beach Ambassador Group, Friends of South Walton Turtles, and then they'll also be pairing up with our Visitor Center personnel to, we'll set up a tent or so, give out some goodies, and also be able to catch people coming out of the parking lot onto the beach. We found last year that if we can get them in the parking lot before they get non-compliant on the beach, it's easier to get them to become compliant. And plus, there's some beach etiquette things in our code that some people just don't realize. You know, we all know about holes, you know, walking in the dunes and all that. There's no code against it, but it's all good best beach management practice. So you'll see that out there. If you want to help as a committee member, let me know and come out and participate in the fun and games, you know, on weekend mornings, typically 8 to 11, something like that. So that's where we are with my department. And any questions about any of that?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
After July 1st, once it goes back to customary use, we get asked this question all the time. What's a 20-second answer of a random beachgoer says, now I hear, you know, where can I sit on the beach behind someone's private property now, technically after July 1st?
Right. Well, the quick answer, you know, would be the shortest version you can get of what customary use was and what the state legislature passed. And then the correct answer to that is that the private property owner has rights to their property boundaries, and that's the mean high water line. And so, you know, when I talk to people about that, I say, you know, the mean high water line in general is, you know, 20 or so feet from the water's edge, typically. Now, we all know that line could be closer and it could be much further away. You know, if I was a person in your position that was probably protecting a section of beach that I have a contract on and a specific place permit on, I would in a nice way try to maneuver them to a section of public beach.
Now, the main context I ask is just in general beachgoers and even myself.
Yeah.
When I go to the beach as an individual.
You
Because
know,
there's so much that gets thrown out there and now it changes.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah, I wish there was a 20-second version of it, but there's really not. And so,
Right.
you know, the best thing to do is explain customary use and explain, you know, not what it is specific to our beach, but what it is, you know, in general. Customary use, you know, people have been using this beach in a traditional beach recreational manner. And I would throw in there that, you know, what is a traditional beach recreation manner? You know, enjoying the beach responsibly, you know, not being, you know, boorish behavior, respecting property, you know, rights, no littering, no loud music and all that. You know what I mean?
oh, for sure. But
And,
technically after July 1st, if me and my family go to the beach and we're behind someone's private property, we need to be within 20 feet of the...
Well, I
I
guess
would-
that kind of presents another opportunity. Didn't we just pass a rule that we were supposed to leave 15 feet clear?
Right.
And
That
so we only have 20
pass-
feet?
That
Did
didn't pass
not
on
get-
private property, right?
Well,
That was
that's,
just-
you know, the 15-foot clear corridor is at the water's edge, does not apply to private property.
Okay.
It's what we call the Rosemary Beach rule. Not calling that derogatory. But the general manager of Rosemary Beach was successful in getting that portion not included in the code. But what it does address is beach equipment, okay? So you can sit down there on your towel. You're just not allowed to set up equipment down there to give a access where that's on public beach. Private beach doesn't think. So, you know, I wouldn't immediately jump out with, I got 20 feet. You know, I would always
Yeah.
reference the mean high water line.
Got
You
it.
know, it's my understanding, sir, that, you know, property boundaries are to the mean high water line, and that line is hard to determine on any given day.
Right.
But generally speaking, it's, you know, 20 feet, you know, landward of the water's edge. Some people observe the debris line as that. You know, I mean, to be honest with you, in a lot of beaches on the east end of the beach, that line's pretty far up the beach.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, as in all cases where I try not to be confrontational with anybody. I would just say, my family's just trying to enjoy the beach today. We're gonna clean up after we leave, and understand your position. I hope you understand my position.
And hopefully that's just a thing in the past.
Yeah. What I see this year is a lot of people, trying to protect beach area that they own to the main high water line. Like I say, we're already experiencing a lot of posts and signs, not really fences. There's a few people that have some plastic fence, chain. Thank God we haven't seen any chain link fence going down, but hopefully they'll get it all worked out in the court system, and everybody will come to an understanding of how the beach can be used, all the way down the beach. But I got a feeling it's going to be a long, hard, court battle.
Now, you said that rule it suggests a time where they can put signs out.
Mm-hmm.
With
Right.
the posts and the chains too, can they not be out full time? They gotta take them in at night or something?
Right.
Okay.
So it lists some times of the day they can be out there.
So they'd have to be removed for any storms or anything like that?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And, keep in mind that when this code, if it is adopted in its form it's in now, will probably immediately be challenged. Again, I would expect that anything that we pass as code that affects the beach and property on the beach is going to immediately be challenged in court until it's all been challenged and it's all been decided on what can be, what activities, what items, and all that can remain on the beach.
I met a real nice code enforcement guy, believe it or not.
Who? Did you check your dog permit?
No, he came to talk to me about dogs.
He what?
He came up just to talk to me about dogs on the beach.
Yeah.
I was down at Stallworth,
Yeah.
and he told me about some of the issues at Stallworth with dogs, that,
Yeah.
and the customary use and going away and all that. And,
Good.
but he was real nice, real informative, wasn't, confrontational or anything.
Good.
And, but he did mention, we were talking about mean high water line, and that's pretty much sovereign land, but he suggested that in some areas the mean high water line can be out in the Gulf a ways. So
Typically, if it is in the Gulf, it's because of an evasive event. Okay, so a storm event has happened.
yeah.
But Matt.
Well, but then you're out there.
Right. Matt
shoreline's
could give us
a tree.
better, but generally speaking,
What's the look
mean high water lines would be on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, your mean high water line is always dynamic, and it's always on the beach.
Yeah.
The only way it would be in the water or at a permanently fixed place on the upland is if it had been transformed into an erosion control line, an ECL, and that's the mean high water line at the point in time when that ECL is converted and recorded.
But the mean high water line is not going to be out in the water.
No,
I
it
mean,
would
either
not.
the shoreline accretes
It
or.
would, I think he probably misspoke, and he was referring to the erosion control line, which was the mean high water line at that date and time.
Yeah, that's probably going to become real critical when.
Right, and
These
I
new
think
rules.
that's the whole issue where we're at, is the property owners now have this dynamic fluctuating line that could be beneficial to them, it could be, damaging to them. But where it is now, it's all dynamic, and it's wherever it is that day. So they could spend a lot of money and have a surveyor come out and say, well, that's the mean high water line.
Yeah.
It's only valid for that one day and that one point in time. It's not valid the next
Sure.
day, and unless it is transformed into an ECL. It's a very complicated issue, but in a nutshell, that's it.
A lot of times what they do is, when they bought their property 30 years ago, the main high water line was much further out.
Oh, I know. Like Pompano Joe's, I know it's like 250 feet out in the water.
Yeah.
He owns mineral rights too to that.
Yeah. So the big question is that where the Pompano are running right down to Stallworth now?
No, actually,
I told him to keep my eye on you so I know where the Pompano are.
oh, call me, I'll tell you. Better yet, meet me.
All righty.
Well, thanks, y'all. Any more old business? How about council comments? Anybody got any comments? No
Nope.
comments? Am I the only one with any comments? Come on, y'all. All right, I'm gonna start with tents on the beach. tents. Had a real nice day Sunday on the beach with the kids fishing tournament.
Good.
And we had a tent set up.
Mm-hmm.
Great Beach State Park was right next to us with a tent set up.
Right.
We had two actually, one for the food and one for
Okay.
the weigh-in. People all over the beach with tents set up.
Yep.
Is that like an exclusion zone at Grayton Beach?
Well, actually, I'm working with legal department on that. All right, so when we made the new tent code, it says 10 by 10 tent, it has to be on the top 1/3 portion of the beach. All right, obviously, our code does not extend to state parks. They have the ability to regulate how they want to manage their beaches. But what we recognized at Grayton Beach State Park is by
It was a state park.
I mean, Grayton Beach, what we call Grayton Dunes is what we call it, is that because of there's that unique opportunity to drive on that beach, and the drive aisle would be in between where the tents would be and where other people are enjoying the beach, it would be not a wise idea. So I've talked with the legal department as to, can we offer an exemption there? What do we have to do? The response they've given me is that I need to take it back before the Board of County Commissioners to have that code revised to exempt that area. But the main reason is I don't want families in tents and little kids traversing back and forth across that drive aisle. Just doesn't seem like a good idea to me. So, yes, to answer your question is we have voluntarily kind of stood down on tents on Grayton Beach as to their location.
Okay. Ran into this vendor at Gulfview Heights, and he had drove over the little parking bumpers right on up, past the bathrooms and showers to get his
Awesome.
equipment out. And I stopped him and I told him I didn't think that he should be doing that. He just kind of shrugged his shoulders and said he'd been doing it. That's really not allowed, is it?
No, sir. Well, where it says no parking and.
Yeah. I mean,
I thought we had delineators up right there.
yeah, there's parking bumpers.
No, we used to have.
I mean, yeah, there's no bollards or anything.
Yeah, they got destroyed.
Yeah, we'll have to put up, obviously, we're going to have to put up something a little more substantial. Appreciate the notice.
I've got his tag number if you want me to give it to you
You got a name and
afterwards.
number, send me an email with it and we'll
Okay.
address it personally with him.
He said that some of the county maintenance guys, he, seen them, and they haven't said anything to him, so he figured he was okay.
Yeah, our beach maintenance guys don't always.
They don't, yeah, I know, they don't.
Code enforcement would say something to him.
Sure.
Certainly,
I'd hope so.
Josh or I, because we're tired of replacing the delineators. Appreciate you noticing on
Okay.
that. Send me the name and number, we'll correct it.
How about the bike path status?
Looking at mid-May, really closer to the end, definitely.
Great, I saw they're starting to compact it.
Yeah, Josh meets with them on a daily basis. Josh, our beach maintenance manager, handles a lot of the construction efforts for capital improvements, as well as design and permitting and all that. Everybody is aware of it. We ran into a few issues at the beginning of the project. We had a few issues with some segmented retaining walls, but everybody's aware that the path needs to be open prior to Memorial Day.
There's a lot of drainage infrastructure in there, too.
There was, remember where the big dip was?
Mm-hmm, yeah, I saw
We
it, it's a
put
big
in-
wall.
How many linear feet of retaining wall was that?
Oh, it's tall.
It was a big wall, and, unfortunately, this is the most recent issue we had, is that when we started compacting that wall bulged a little bit. We asked them to take it down and make it right, and so that compromised a little bit of it. But anyway, definitely before Memorial Day weekend. And there'll still be some, what I call shoulder work on the path to be done after that, but the path will be open and we won't have that issue with people riding on the road, which, to be quite honest with you, I never would expect the amount of people that are doing that are doing it. But,
Yeah.
you can only put up so much signage and all that, So,
Okay.
that, and then the next section of the pass we'll be doing in conjunction with Public Works will be from 395 east to the eastern lake area. It'll be done in a couple of segments, and that'll actually be done with road work being done to 30A, what I call streetscape work. Public Works will be managing all that. They're doing the design, engineering, permitting. We'll be funding the portion associated with the bike path. We had intended to move further west but since they're doing that work down there, it seemed logical to combine our work with their work. So,
I was up in Canada a couple months ago, and some of their trails at the trailhead, they have these really, really awesome little bike maintenance stations.
really?
Have you seen any of these?
No.
Oh man, they got a pump. They've got all these wrenches attached to.
They're all cabled.
Yeah, all cabled. They're the coolest things though. If we
Yeah.
could have some of those positioned around,
They
I
have
think
a
that
lot
would be
of-
neat.
They have a
Yeah.
lot of college campuses.
Yeah, yeah, they're really, really cool.
Huh.
I got a picture of one though. I don't know
Send me
if
a
I got
picture and
the.
an email, and
Yeah.
we'll track down the manufacturer and interject it into the Destination Improvement Committee and
Yeah, they're
see
pretty
what they
neat.
think. We're looking at, I put in these rest areas on this new section of bike path. So it's little bump outs, got
Yeah.
some benches and garbage cans. We're looking at a water fountain type thing that's a
Perfect.
water fountain, water bottle filler, and
Mhm.
and a animal watering station. But we're not sure if we're gonna put those in. They're high dollar, but, something like that can fit in very easily to places like that.
Yeah, I think
Interesting
that's
idea.
great. That bike path gets so much.
You
It
know,
was similar to that. It was just one post.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but it had stuff like 360 degrees around. It was neat.
On other amenities we put in, like at our boat ramps and stuff, we have a hard time keeping small stuff that would normally.
These were all the wrenches were attached with a cable and stuff.
Yeah,
So I don't
we
know
have-
people.
We have people cut hoses for, spray nozzles.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And you'd be surprised at what people, could go get at the dollar store for $1. They'll take from us repeatedly.
Yep.
Anyway, good idea. Send me the information.
Okay. What's the deal with the boat at Gulfview Heights?
The
I mean,
what?
I guess we can't stop them from launching on the beach there, but
Oh, you're talking about the guy that has the,
The little-
no, he has a beach permit. Those things are allowed.
yeah, just like a
uh,
catamaran, I guess.
It's hard to deny a beach item permit when he meets the definition of the beach item permit. Just because that thing has its own mobility, shouldn't preclude him from.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. Maybe Jay will fund us with some of those.
I can't imagine it not catching on though. More and more people starting to do it though.
As it gets harder to get down the beach, we might have to have some beach maintenance zodiacs, Anyway,
Do we need to vote on that?
I probably need a little more time to discuss it with him.
Stallworth Access there. We got to do something with that water. It's ponding up so bad from the wash. Pull
You're
some of
talking
those deck boards up. I know we tried to drill holes in it and stuff. We got to
Oh, with the
pull
wash
some-
area?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's 2
Yeah.
3 inches deep right there.
We have, all of our boardwalks under design and permit. I don't know if that section was included in that, because that's off to the side.
The challenge is, there's limited right of way there, and there's limited width of access with the shallow. So
Yeah, I mean, we just need to pull up some deck boards or something and dig out beneath them and space them a little bit or something. If it's all going to run over there, we got to get rid of it because
Is it collecting water off the road?
it's from the shower.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the shower drains right into it.
We'll take a look at it. We had that situation some other places we were able to rectify. We had the same deal at Beechwood Villas.
I mean, years ago, y'all went in there and drilled holes in it to get the water to drain through the boardwalk and stuff, but I'm sure it's just filled up beneath it.
Josh, take a
and
look
stuff.
at it and we'll correct the situation in some form or fashion so that it still works the way it did as far
Yeah.
as being accessible and all that.
Construction parking. See a lot of construction parking at the beach accesses.
We, I'm assuming you're talking about Santa Clara. We've actually met on site.
They're everywhere. I mean, Fort Panic, Gulf, Ed Walleen.
We've been working with planning department to help address those issues during the development order process. Because that's where it needs to be
Yeah.
first established, that they have to provide on-site. Our land development code has provisions in it that says they have to provide on-site parking, on-site laydown and all that. In the past, I don't know how much attention's been paid to it. Obviously,
enough.
there hadn't been much on the contractor's part. But because of the fiasco down there at Beechwood Villas in Santa Clara, we've met on site with that contractor's project manager and superintendent and regional manager. We had Public Works representatives down there with us. We addressed those immediate issues, and we also addressed the whole issue about that. So, in moving forward, we're going to be given an opportunity when our multi-use path or other amenities could be compromised, and they're going to have more emphasis on making sure that the contractor provides the information during the development process. So then it has a little more teeth. You can say, well, wait a second, our agreement was this.
Well, plus, I mean, any damage or anything would be part of their CO.
Right.
Get it fixed.
All
Kinda
that is
guaranteed.
including the land development code.
Yeah.
And so the planning department is aware of the issues, and they're working on their end to solve them before they happen, make sure that as the project gets wound up, that they correct any issues with right-of-way and all that. You know, the parking at the Public Beach Accesses, unfortunately, they're public parking. And so the key to keep construction people from parking there is to make sure that the construction project has adequate space for them to park. And then they wouldn't need to park there.
Problem is, a home site doesn't go through a DO process.
No, they don't, but there's still provisions in the land development code that that they should have to provide for
Yeah.
that. And like I say, we're working close with the planning department. And
I mean, their code enforcement ought to enforce that, the regular county code
They should.
enforcement.
Like I say, I'm just a firm believer, if you correct this stuff at the permitting level, the plan, you know, the permit application level, instead of trying to correct it with code enforcement personnel. Because there's just not enough people to do that,
Yeah.
you know. We did the same thing with special event permits, and we've turned that whole program around. You know, we don't hear near as many complaints about special events where there's not appropriate room to have a special event,
Yeah.
because we stop at the plan, at the permit level. And so, but anyway, it is being addressed.
Okay.
You know, how quickly will it be, you know, completely corrected? You know, it might take a year or two, or who knows how long, but we're aware of it, they're aware of it. We all have an understanding of how to correct it.
How about the beach mats? Any update on that?
Beach mats,
Moby
Yeah.
mat.
we have.
ADA mats?
Yeah, we have the one at Ed Walling.
Okay.
We were letting it, you know, have a period of time to see, you know, how much it was used, how much maintenance it took. As you know, it was a fairly long FDEP permitting process. And to be quite honest with you, it came down to negotiating with them as to how much mat we could put down. They wanted us to stop it at the toe of the dune, and we're like, well, it has no purpose. I mean,
Yeah.
our boardwalks go to the toe of the dune.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that case right there at Ed Wall Lane, it's a little different, as in the eastern property owner has done a pretty good job with sand fencing, and so the toe of the dune on their property is 30 feet seaward than the toe of the dune at our boardwalk. What we did negotiate is, was it 20 feet past it or 10 feet past it?
Well, one of the limit was 10 feet past the end of the
Oh, we ended up going
boardwalk.
20 feet.
So we ended up going 75 feet from the
End
end
of
of
the
the
boardwalk.
boardwalk.
And we had to
That's
do
pretty
it
long.
over the
Yeah.
spur.
Yeah.
Where do we
Yeah.
have it?
Should be able to run it a lot further.
So, but anyway, so we're going to evaluate it there, you know, this year. And we had started the process doing a administrative permit for all of our regional beach accesses, so that we could go put them in just by sending them an amendment to the permit. When it came down to it, we're going to have to permit each one individually. The biggest problem is they see that as a permanent structure, whereas we don't.
Right.
But they're the permit authority, and so we got to see it their way. But
Yeah, because
we,
you have to roll it back up when there's a storm.
That's easy to do.
well, yeah, but we actually, I mean, what's our maintenance on that thing on a daily, weekly basis? I mean, do we?
Very limited maintenance.
Yeah.
Water,
Yeah.
small items, food grading, blow off sand.
Yeah,
It's on a daily or even a weekly.
right.
Right.
But, the biggest grief they had was, affecting turtles and turtle nests. And, we have a very good process of identifying where the nests are. I mean, we map them all on GIS maps. We know where they are. We're certainly not going to put a stake down through a turtle nest, the stakes that hold it down. And, I'm sure a turtle can crawl right over it and past it, and I don't think they're going to try to nest on it. But like I said, we're over the first one, so the next one's ought to be easier. What'd that thing cost? 85? $5,000. So, $5,000 for something we have down there. Not too bad.
You gotta do a full-blown permit for the rest of them, no field permit or anything?
Do what now?
For the rest of them, they're gonna require a full permit?
We could probably do them as field permits moving
Okay.
forward. I don't know if administrative
permit?
So administrative permits. But like I say, the first one's done, the next one's ought to be easy.
Yeah. Nothing's ever easy with it.
I know, but we have developed a pretty good relationship with the people that manage that, because we have all these other things under design and permit. So we're over there. Josh was over there Monday. It's like I say, once you start developing relationships, they understand what we're trying to do. Theoretically, everything ought to be getting easier. We know what they want. They know what we want.
Mm-hmm.
We come to a happy compromise and move on.
I'd like to give some feedback on that Moby map because I'm down there quite a bit. We just had, on the 21st, we did a partnership, and I'd like to thank Beach Ambassadors for coming out and joining us. But we held the Sandy Wheels event, partnered up with the Sacred Heart Rehabilitative Center.
Yep.
So we got, I think we had 13 different beach wheelchairs out there, including the 5 that we have
Yeah.
through you all.
Good.
And we had a full house, and that Moby mat was a hit. And I can tell you just
Great.
some of those little pins come up every once in a while, but basically the maintenance on it is next to nothing. And it's been, the feedback has been nothing but overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
It's a good asset to the beach.
Yeah, it is.
Are you using the Moby Mat brand or the Access Mat?
Access map.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Access Rich.
Yeah.
I've used both. I like the Access a little bit better. Yeah. While I'm here, the one thing I want to remind everybody is today is the first day of turtle season. And so we'll be monitoring turtles. Also, just a reminder on the bird nesting, particularly on the parks. We have several nests that are starting to establish, so just be aware of that. I know I sent out emails, but
Yeah.
in case
Yeah, boy.
somebody didn't see them.
I just have one other thing. The new Access Stinkies,
Yes.
what's the status on that?
Been, once again, hard time with the FDEP on permitting issues. One item was a variance we were seeking on the scenic corridor setback. We went about 6 months with the understanding that it was probably going to be easy to obtain, and then we were basically asked to not ask for it. And I understand the logic is right now that seems to be a contentious item, variances for whatever reason. And so just seemed prudent that we as a county agency not ask for a variance. So we had to redesign our location of the bathhouse, which meant redesign of the parking lot. And then some feedback we had received from FDEP that was somewhat contrary to the first feedback we got about our boardwalk design. It further reduced our size of our boardwalk. So what I was trying to do there was offer some viewing platforms at the top, at the intermediate switchback, and then down at the bottom, those got reduced in size. FDEP's basic attitude is a minimalist on the boardwalk design. And so, we still have the platforms, they're just not as big. So anyway, all that kind of changed.
What's the timeline on that? Estimated?
Be open for business before the first of spring break 2019,
When are you gonna start construction?
probably in September. Design and permitting, we hope will be wrapped up by then. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. We feel like we've answered all the questions for FDEP. Our engineering firm is working hard on it. We talk with them on a weekly basis. Procurement process sometimes is,
Well, I think what I'm thinking, the optics of putting in those few parking spaces isn't really good. And there's a lot of people using it anyway. They've trampled the fence in the corner, and I see them walking through there, even
Yeah.
parking right there.
yeah.
Is there any way we can just open it? There's a boardwalk there.
Yeah,
Just
no.
put a little sand fence path over to it for the summer?
No, because
I mean, you got parking there for it, you got a boardwalk there for
Yeah.
it.
I
That
just-
was sure,
like I say, the reason we didn't do it is one is the boardwalk doesn't meet our standards. I mean, it feels sturdy, but it's not
it's
our
sturdy, I've
standards.
been on it.
Yeah, and so if people, it's just not, since it's not completely safe, we don't want to put people down through there.
Well, I think it's safer than people using it as it is.
Yeah.
I mean, if we put up some fencing and actually a little pathway there or something, put it over to the side where, it
Yeah.
won't, I think it,
Yeah, and there's a chance that we might get our permitting done quicker than we think we are, because since we're now over these last hurdles in the procurement process, we're refining it on every job we do. It might go quicker. I mean, there's a chance we could start in August, maybe. But
well, I'm just saying, you just built, a few beach access parking spaces right there next to
yeah.
it.
Last thing
It'd be
I want to
nice
do,
if we had a
is-
beach access
yeah.
right there.
Well, I agree, but we want it to be the finished product before we open it up. And I think that's the prudent thing to do.
Okay.
I've got something back from the back to the Moby Matz.
Yes, sir.
What's the status on Ed Rawlings walkover ramps being redone?
Still under design and permit. As soon as those permits are coming in at random, that one's a pretty extensive, redo there. They had a lot of structure that had to be replaced. Right, Josh? And so I don't have the definitive timeline. I mean,
The design will be done probably next month or two, but construction won't start until after summer season.
yeah, but it could more than likely be done before next spring break.
I could say that, personally speaking, and I know that what you said, that the event that was held there recently, I don't know how many people are in same type of chairs as I'm in, but I haven't used the mats really because it's too violent, how bumpy it is for me to go down that ramp.
At the beach
If you
side?
put yourself in my chair,
Uh-huh.
like mine is, it's just so bumpy going down that
So the
wall.
ramp itself is,
I can't,
can't get
for
to
me
the
to
ramp.
get to it, it's miserable.
I got you.
It's like, so I don't go.
Yeah.
So I'm probably not gonna use that this year, which is a bummer, because I've
Yes, sir.
been waiting so patiently to have that there.
All right. I understand.
But,
I wish I could do it quicker.
Yeah, because I thought that was supposed to be done last year.
Like I say, the whole design and
Yeah.
permitting of these boardwalks has taken longer than we would like to because we did them as administrative permits as opposed to field permits. And the reason we did that is when we first met with our architectural engineering firms, it was suggested that we do them in lots and somehow it would be quicker. Well, it's not quicker. And as we go through it, there seems to be a lot of effort by FDEP to not help us rebuild boardwalks that are already in place. To me, it was a fairly easy process. But after we started looking at it, especially with the ones that have more structure to be replaced, they started looking at it a lot harder. Proper height above dune grasses and all that. And then you combine that with we don't want any more boardwalk down there than is necessary, it starts getting really problematic.
So Bramble Grove should be done by about mid-century?
What?
Based on that criteria, Bramble Grove, access should be done by mid-century?
Yeah, that one's a tough one. I mean, you know how that one is. I mean, it's got,
Yeah.
what, 6
Half
switchbacks
mile.
on it? And
Yeah.
the dang pole. Another thing that makes it hard is our basic, our standard design is 8 inch. pilings, and they don't like us to use 8-inch pilings. They want us to use 6 or 4-inch. And we have found that, our thought process is let the deck and the handrails blow off, but if the pilings can stay in place, it makes the construction much easier. Their theory is no, that compromises the dune systems, and so they want it to all be frangible. So it all blows away and doesn't take the dune system with it. And so I understand that, but then again, we look at, the beach a little bit differently, but so it's all, there's a lot of discussion and a lot of submitted information and then requests for additional information. And then, like in some cases,
I won that argument.
Huh?
Okay, I said I won that argument decades ago. That it's you got to have 150 pounds a square foot live load on those structures for a public
well,
structure.
maybe that's the solution.
That's your solution.
Their administrative rule is what conflicts with that live load. So
Well, and that's what I said. We won that years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We fought that fight.
Right. And so, there's also, they have a certain amount of time to review before they issue statements or requests for additional information, and it just draws it out for a long process, and
They don't even look at it till the 29th day.
I don't, but, we fight hard to get what we think is appropriate for different reasons, for economy, efficiency, aesthetics, use, and all that. And we're fighting hard, and we think that when we get done with this, permitting, that anything in the future will be easier. Another thing we're doing is we're acquiring title information, surveys, and all that. There's a lot of property that was in question as to its ownership relationship. Some properties we own, some are on easements, some are on road right-of-ways, some are on pieces of land that nobody knows who owns. We're trying to get all that sorted out, especially with the issues we have with access and property, beach ownership property.
Another thing is I still do have Power Beach chair that I want to donate.
Yes, sir.
To the use for there.
Me and Josh are going to speak with you after this meeting, and we'll make some definitive arrangements. I know I've told you that a couple of times, but we'll get with you here after this meeting, and we'll make some arrangements to come over and take you up on that deal.
All right.
Again, I just want to say, I want to work with you on, in Rawlings, to get you on the beach this summer. So we'll discuss that after the meeting, try to figure out what we can do.
All right. I appreciate it.
Okay. Anything else? How about the public? Anybody else? Anybody got any comments? Want to say anything? All right. Meeting's adjourned.
Appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you.
Thank you.